Welcome everybody to the Public Works meeting. Today is Tuesday, June 14th. It is 12:30. Let's start this meeting off with a roll call and determination of quorum.
Bill Evans. Here. Roman. Here. Lance Lehman.
Here.
Pat Jones.
Here.
Laura Armstrong. Here. A quorum is present.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is adoption of the agenda.
Move approval of the agenda.
Motion by Jones, second by Evans. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it is approved. Next, we have general public comment, a time for the members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the committee on any issue not limited to items on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda, except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council present. And we have one speaker request form. Mr. Spencer Crawford. Got 3 minutes, sir. Follow our traffic lights.
You bet. I think this is actually on the agenda, so I hope I'm not speaking out of order, but I believe
sorry,
it's one
we
of the,
certainly can take it up during your item if you'd like. Nothing was marked on your sheet.
Sorry. So it is item number, just if you want to find it, 22RD001, which I thought I put on the sheet, but I apologize if it did not appear there.
I'm sorry, you certainly did. It's item 11.
Okay. You bet. Should I go ahead and, would you like me to?
Or we would do it right next anyway. Absolutely. Just feel free to take it on.
Okie doke. Dear committee members, my name is Spencer Crawford, and I would like to thank you for the opportunity to address you and share some thoughts. Specifically, I would like to express my opposition to item 22RD001, the name change of the lower portion of the 200, 300, and 400 blocks of St. Cloud Street to St. Paul Street. While I like the proposed name and honoring the Apostle Paul, I believe there's a better, simpler solution to what I admit is a strange status quo. I would respectfully submit to the committee that Lower St. Cloud, the south side of the street, keep the name St. Cloud, and that the North Fork that goes up the hill simply be named Signal Drive, the name of this very same street as soon as it reaches the top of the hill. In fact, that street is already called Signal Drive for most of its length. This proposal has a number of advantages over the current proposal, in my opinion anyhow. First, the lower portion of St. Cloud Street is on the same axis as the rest of St. Cloud Street. From the perspective of a city grid, it makes sense to change the name of the portion of the road that deviates from the grid rather than the portion that does not. In this case, the North Fork heads up a hill, whereas the Southern Fork continues straight with no elevation change. Second, 17 lots of both multi and single-family units will be affected by renaming the lower portion of St. Cloud, whereas renaming the portion that goes up the hill would only affect 6 lots. Third, the lower portion of St. Cloud naturally dead ends, whereas the upper portion does not. As I stated earlier, the upper portion actually already changes name as soon as it reaches the top of the hill to Signal Drive. This is without any intersection, turns, or other obvious transition. Renaming the upper portion of St. Cloud, that north side of the street, Signal Drive, beginning at 5th Street, would eliminate the abrupt street name change that currently exists at the top of the hill. Finally, maintaining the St. Cloud name on the lower portion and extending Signal Drive to 5th Street would allow the city to avoid inventing a new street name altogether. I believe retaining the St. Cloud name for the lower portion and lengthening the existing Signal Drive from the top of the hill to 5th Street would make the road names more intuitive. It would resolve the currently abrupt transition from St. Cloud to Signal Drive at the top of the hill, and it would minimize lot description changes and potential future hassle with deeds to homeowners and occupants by nearly 2/3. So thank you for your thoughtful consideration of my idea.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford.
If you have any questions.
That was the only, if you'd like to stick around when we get to the item, there might be questions. We're going to go ahead and close general public comment, open consent items 1 through 11, public comment. We're going to open that. That is when Mr. Crawford should have spoke. My apologies. We're going to close that, seeing nobody else wanting to speak. Move on to the consent items 1 through 11. Before we make any motions, we'll start with the Public Works Department, if they wanted to address anything.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I'll just give a brief description of all the Public Works items, if that's okay with the committee.
Absolutely. Please do.
Thanks. All right, item number 2 and 3 are change orders. They appear to be significant at first glance. The first change order is on our 12th Street reconstruction project, where we did find some residences that had what we consider non-conforming sewer service lines. And in an effort to correct those service lines, we extended sanitary sewer main so those residences could have a much better connection to our sanitary sewer system. I consider this project certainly value-added. Getting good conforming service to our customers is quite important. It helps with the resale of the home and reduces any ambiguity in ownership of those service lines. Item number 2, we have had a project, Creek Drive area. It's the industrial area south of St. Pat. We encountered some soft subsoils down there as part of our pavement rehab project, so we chose to utilize some geotextile fabrics to help the stability of the soils down there, as well as some additional gravel. So that area down there, obviously quite busy industrial area. We want to make sure that the work we do lasts for quite some time. So once again, a needed improvement and a needed change order in effort to make that project a success. Item 4, final change order on Unadel project for $205. Item number 5, once again, a slight increase in our fire hydrant annual projects that we do. Item number 6, a slight decrease on our Tower Road project. There was a slight area on Tower Road that we repaired last year and then came back this year to pave it. So that's the final, or the change order on that project. Item number 7, the Red Rock Canyon Drainage Basin Design Plan is located basically in the Chapel Lane area all the way up into Red Rocks. So this project will be to update that Drainage Basin Design Plan to reflect previously constructed development, as well as looking at new development and potential for additional runoff in that area. Item number 8 is authorization to advertise for bids for Fire Station 1 improvements. Item number 9 is the same request for authorization for City Hall Phase 2 renovation, and that, I believe, is the lobby, council chambers, and some minor office changes in the building. Item 10 is the farming contract. We had a couple items earlier this year that were brought to you. This one is for the reclamation area, so the remediation area, where we want to make sure we have a uptake of the nutrients that are in our soils out there, done with farming as a remediation method. And that is the final item that I'm going to speak to, and I believe Community Development is getting something ready to speak to item number 11.
Thank you, Mr. Tick. Ms. Fisher, the floor is yours for your item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you'll give us just a moment to bring up an aerial. Ultimately, what we're going to ask for you today is to continue this item for 2 weeks. I think that the gentleman in the audience has brought forward a good statement that there are, as an alignment with Signal Drive, that would make sense. In looking at that statement, it appears that the area that we would want to rename to St. Paul is going to be shortened in half. There is an alignment that does make sense to have a different street name, but once this aerial comes up, I'll point to it and kind of walk you through it. So we do appreciate you coming forward today. Okay, so
Jones?
here we go.
Oh, she's ready.
Okay, so currently St. Cloud is here, and it comes up, and this is where it changes to Signal. This is really the section that has caused 911 issues, in that we also have St. Cloud here, all the way to 2nd Street. So it does make sense that we leave this St. Cloud, and that in essence we only change this part to an alternate street name, that being St. Paul. Now, if we were to zoom in on this, you would see that this is currently St. Cloud and addressed accordingly off of St. Cloud. This is St. Cloud. So it only makes sense that this section stay St. Cloud, and then the only area of concern just becomes that portion on that block to the east. So if you will let us continue this for 2 weeks, we'll come back with the revised legal, revised graphics, and yes, Mr. Chair, the gentleman would like to speak to this, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely, sir.
Come to the...
Sorry to interrupt. I'm glad this is collaborative, though. In terms of the bifurcation, as I'm seeing it for the construction plan, is that the bifurcation with that retaining wall.
Can I have you get on the mic?
You bet. So the bifurcation that's actually being planned or is being realized with that huge retaining wall actually happens quite a bit before. So we're going to have, if I may, so the bifurcation is going to happen right about here. So there's only, and really these lots, I'm not sure with my count if they're actually Fifth Street lots or if they're St. Cloud lots, but you're going to actually have the Signal Drive going up here, and then there's a St. Cloud, currently St. Cloud here. So the bifurcation doesn't happen here. This is already way up on top of the hill in front of the nursing home. Whereas here, you're going to have kind of a shared street, and the bifurcation is going to happen a lot sooner than what we see on this map. Sorry to make a mess of your screen.
Not at all.
But I think when we're thinking about where the bifurcation actually happens, it's maybe 100 feet east of Fifth Street, rather than what the right-of-ways are 100-foot wide for whatever reason. I think it's just kind of an antiquity of planning when that Robbinsdale community or this Florman addition was created. Just because of the terrain, it's kind of special, and the right-of-ways are, as you can see, significantly larger than the surrounding areas. So my thinking is that as soon as that bifurcation happens and you start going up the hill, it makes sense that we'd name it Signal Drive, just in continuity with the rest of the street name on the top of the hill, and that we'd go ahead and guard the axis, keep the axis, the east-west axis, and keep that name St. Cloud. That was just my thinking.
So the issue then would be, where do we stop Signal Drive and where do we start St. Cloud? This would be the alignment as I have shown it for all of St. Cloud. If we were to retain this as St. Cloud, now we've got Signal coming in where you've got St. Cloud, then Signal, then St. Cloud again. So looking at this from a 911 intent and how do we best get response time in here, we'll run this by that agency again to ensure it is as they see it. But Dale, did you have something you wanted to add to this? But again, our intent would be to have the minimalist of impact on property owners, because we know what it's like when you change someone's address. It doesn't change their legal description of their property. It won't impact deeds or any of that, but it does impact paperwork on a mortgage. What is your house address, etc.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Mr. Tech, please do.
I believe continuing 2 weeks is the appropriate thing. My understanding is St. Cloud, if it is to remain a St. Cloud, does not connect to Signal Hill. So there will be a separation there. So I think, Mr. Crawford, I think what he's proposing does make some sense. So we'll take a look at that and bring back a recommendation in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Tech. I have everybody in queue. Ms. Armstrong, was it on this item, or are we going to pull items from consent? Okay. So Ms. Fisher, were you finished?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's go back to the consent item list here, and Ms. Armstrong, the items you wanted to pull?
I'll pull 8, please.
Mr. Jones?
Is this one? Did very good.
Mr. Stroman? Mr. Evans? She pulled number 8. We have 4 and 8 removed. Number 9, and the chair, at Mr. Jones's request, will remove 11. We'll pull it and get to it.
I'll make a motion to
And item 1 as well, Mr. Jones?
approve 1, yes, sorry.
Motion on the floor is to approve all the items with the exception of 4, 8, 9, and 11. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. Item number 4, approve change order 3F to Mainline Contracting for Unadel Drive reconstruction for a decrease of $205. And we go to Mr. Evans.
No, me.
Oh, that's right, you guys switched spots. Mr. Stroman?
On number 4, that's the Unadel Drive reconstruction. I happened to walk that Saturday, and saw Dale afterwards when I got home and told him that I thought it turned out really well. It's a huge improvement in that stretch of road. It's widened and it's smooth, and I just think it's a real asset, and I just want to commend him and the contractor for a job well done on the Unadel project. I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Stroman.
Move approve of item 4.
Motion by Jones to approve,
Second.
second by Stroman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now on to item number 8, authorize staff to advertise for bids, Fire Station number 1 improvements. And Ms. Armstrong?
Thank you. May I please direct my questioning to our fire department staff?
Absolutely.
Hello, thank you for being here. I was wondering if you could go into a little more detail regarding Fire Station 1 and these improvements, and then how this relates to the new fire station, and if you can give us a kind of projected timeline. As we all know, with construction projects, they might vary. If you would be so kind, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. What this is with the new station, this is a station, the remodel that's going on. This is for us to advertise for bids for it. And we don't have an exact date right now. We just had a meeting today with the architect and engineer. We're going to go out for bid. And it's, I can't see an exact date, but it's coming soon within the next few months. We're looking to go out for bid for that.
Oops. There we go. I have constituents asking, when will we have a new fire station? Where are we hoping to have this ready by?
Yeah.
No pressure.
If I may weigh in on that, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
That's unknown. As one of the last things that is done in the development of a construction project for bid and with the construction documents is determining the phasing and the contract time. I don't believe that's been determined yet. I do believe that the design team has been communicating with local construction companies about how long they think that this project's going to take. And with the availability of materials and supplies, the local contracting workload, it's going to be more than just a few months, or probably, I would anticipate it's going to be a 2-year project at a minimum. And obviously, it still needs to remain a functioning fire station as well. So all of that plays into the contract time allowed for these improvements. And as I've said, I don't believe that that's been determined at this late date yet, but it will be prior to the bidding process.
Okay, thank you. One, I'm glad that we're using a local construction company to do that. And two, I just want to acknowledge the fact that this project is about 2 decades overdue, and now we have some people kind of chomping at the bit. When is it going to get done? And the bottom line is they're excited about it. We know that it's needed, and there are many people cheering this project on. So thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong. Mr. Stroman? Oh, we got him switched finally. Mr. Evans?
Also a question for Mr. Tech. Exactly, well, I guess either one, fire department or you, whoever, really. I mean, I'm curious, do we ever see the blueprints, the final drawings, everything that when we start approving to go ahead for bidding things? I mean, I don't remember ever seeing the designs, and it seems like there's a missing step in here someplace. We approve studying it and getting plans, and then all of a sudden we approve being built, and we don't know what you're building. I mean, are we at the design stage now where we actually are approving plans? Are we not to there yet? I guess I don't understand this question on the agenda. What exactly is this next step that we're approving here? Proposals for no, here it is. Improvements project. Exactly where are we at in the project?
Okay, thanks, Bill. Where we're at in the project is we're just finishing up the design project of what's going on with the whole project, just crossing the Ts, dotting the Is, and then the engineers and architects are double checking on to make sure the timeline fits. And what we're doing is you're approving that we can go out for bids, so it'll come to council then, and the council has, you know, that council's going to approve for going out for bids.
Well, here's the missing step. And if my family hadn't been involved in design build processes my whole life, and my sister is involved in building skyscrapers in Cleveland and Chicago, and we're missing a step. Normally, the plans come in, and then the people paying the bill say, that's exactly what we thought we were getting. We don't do that on any of these projects. We should have them laid out here for public review for 2 weeks so people can come in and make suggestions. I don't understand why we continuously miss this step, because it may not be what the council planned. And I mean, there shouldn't be any threat that comes from the council by having to review what they're going to be spending millions and millions of dollars on. So this is my problem with our process. It is a flawed process in this city. I've been complaining about this for 3 years now. We never seem to change it, but I think we need this review step, because it may not be what we had in mind. The same thing is applying to number 9. So I'll just combine it with number 9 rather than have to talk twice, because I know how you people love my voice. I don't know exactly what they're talking about when they say phase 2, and I've been looking at the attached things to see what I'm voting on here. Does this involve demolishing our little pocket park and the fountain? Does it involve closing this window? Some of things that some of us are really opposed to, but I don't know what I'm voting on here. And this is a problem. So anybody that wants to address this, we have got to change the procedure here and how it goes, because people should have the right to see what they're going to pay for. That's all I'm going to say. So can anybody answer the question about number 9? What exactly are we voting on number 9, since we're coming up next on that one to vote?
Can we finish number 8 first, Mr. Evans, and we'll
Sure.
jump to that?
Whatever.
I will enter,
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Mr. Tech?
Items 8 and 9 are our standard process we've used in the city for many, many years, and that is...
Bad. And it's a bad process, okay? I'm aware of that, but that doesn't answer my question. I'd like to know what we're paying for.
I will entertain a motion for item 8. Laura Armstrong makes the motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Pat Jones. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
1 no for Mr. Evans. The item passes. Item number 9, authorize staff to advertise for bids, City Hall Phase 2 renovation project. And Mr. Evans, you pulled this item.
I've already
We all know
said
the
my
question.
spiel. No.
If memory is correct, Mr. Tech, can you confirm? I believe Councilman Nordstrom, myself, and you met on Phase 2 and had a 2-hour meeting upstairs one day. Would that have been the Phase 2 project? Mr. Tech, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At my brief summary I gave just a few moments ago, I stated it'd be the lobby, the council chambers, and some minor office renovations.
So this would be flooring, which is necessary, leveling of the floor because of the settling problem, and items like that. But we could, you know, it would be nice to have a list spelling that out when we're voting.
Mr. Stroman?
Thank you, Chair. And I think one of the issues that Bill's trying to articulate is that, okay, when we say it involves the lobby and council chambers, what specifically in council chambers? I know that Bill's very concerned about the window behind us, and he's talked to me about it several times. And so I guess, is that part of this deal? When you say council chambers, does that include some renovation with this window behind us, or is that being left alone, I guess? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stroman.
I don't have the answer to that. I don't know what the status of the window is myself.
Thank you, Mr. Tech. Are you? Okay. Ms. Armstrong?
Well, I was going to let this go, but for over a year, I was inquiring about the safety in council chambers as well. So if we're doing anything to council chambers, I'd like to encourage adding some safety features to our area, for what it's worth. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong.
Well, I'm going to request that we continue this till we find out what we're buying, because nobody seems to know. And I don't think that's an unreasonable request.
So Mr. Evans' motion on the floor is to move the item to the next Public Works meeting. Second by Mr. Stroman. All in favor of that motion? Oh, sorry, excuse me. We had someone in queue. Lori, your name's not popping up, sorry.
If we did, I just have a question. If we did postpone this, would this derail any things that we have in place?
I don't believe that
this
to
is
be
a
the
safe
case. I
postponement?
think we'd be okay with a 2-week
Okay.
delay in this.
All right, I just needed to know that before I voted. Thank you for your input on that, and thank you for the discussion on this matter.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong. So the motion on the floor is to move the item to the next Public Works meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is moved to the next meeting. Last item on the agenda is item 11. Bill Evans.
Well, old curmudgeon-y here. You, our constituent, comes with a beautifully logical and reasonable plan. And as I look at the addresses along St. Cloud, none of those are going to change if we go with your idea. They remain St. Cloud. And there are very few addresses, if any, I could see that would be renamed Signal if we went with your plan. So I don't see, frankly, any reason to continue this. It makes sense that the street goes that way, it's St. Cloud. You go that way, it's Signal. I don't know why we need to continue this. I'd rather just vote on it now, get it done, and go with his suggestion, because it makes sense.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Crawford, thank you for coming to the meeting, and thank you for giving us a brilliant suggestion. We were bantering about this before the meeting, Mr. Evans and I, about the wall and about the name of the street and everything, and because it was on the agenda. And here comes you with a tremendous idea that makes perfect sense to me. And I really thank you for taking the time to come. Out of respect to our Ms. Fisher and the community development folks, I would like to see it postponed for 2 weeks to our next meeting, just to give them ample opportunity to look at these options and make sure that 2 weeks from now we don't have to do it again. There may be a reason we can't, so there's no dire rush to do it. So let's just give the process a little time to work. And Director Fisher, if that would be okay with you?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Fisher?
if I might, I would. And please note that there is a project that's being done by Public Works Department. Our department is trying to collaborate with them to adjust a street name in consideration of street alignments being changed. And we only brought forward what was presented to us as what would make sense. It appears that that is not the case. There have been ongoing revisions. So what we did do is we've got Spencer's contact information, and we'll visit with him before your next Public Works Committee meeting and ensure that we're aligning it with what Public Works is doing, minimizing the impact to the greatest degree possible for addresses, and bring forward a revised request that will show hopefully a much smaller area that would be appropriate for an alternate street name.
Thank you very much. I just think that's a great idea, and let's let the process work to make sure that the recommendation and the action we take 2 weeks from today is right for all the right reasons, and we can safely move forward and make this work. So, yeah, I would make the motion that we postpone this for 2 weeks, table it for 2 weeks, waiting for the next opinion from Public Works and Community Development, and possibly take action at that time.
Thank you. The motion on the floor is to move the item for 2 weeks, second by Armstrong. Ms. Fisher, did you still want to comment? You're still in the queue. Mr. Evans, you are in here.
Okay, I only want to ask, because I get the rationale behind your proposal. It makes complete and total sense to me. My question is, what was the rationale behind coming up with a completely new street name affecting all those addresses? I don't understand it. It seems excessively complicated and completely lacking in forethought. So I'm curious to where that came from. I'm just, you know, I don't understand the logic. So that's my question.
I don't think anyone's in a hurry to answer you, Mr. Evans.
Allow me.
Please, Ms.
So
Fisher.
again, it was an attempt to adjust a road name change that was needed based on a street project that will not make for a continuation of St. Cloud Street in its current alignment. So we know something's got to give. But what Director Tech brought to my attention at the meeting today is showing where that variation in alignment is. And so it does make sense to adjust this application and to minimize that impact. I think we're going to see that the area that Spencer had identified for the most part is going to be left as St. Cloud, but there will need to be some revision of some sort because there's a diversion of streets both under the name of St. Cloud, and 911 is confused by it. So apologies for the internal confusion between departments. We're grateful that Mr. Spencer came today and shared what he did, and we will work together as a team and bring forward a revised request at your next meeting.
Mr. Tech?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to echo what Vicki says regarding emergency services. They play a huge part of addressing, so there's no confusion when they respond to emergencies. So I believe that they were involved in the process, and certainly I think Ms. Fisher's department certainly takes that into consideration when they're looking at addressing and road name designations.
Thank you, Mr. Tech. Laura, are you in queue? Ms. Armstrong?
And for the record, I asked Director Fisher how many addresses were impacted, and she thinks it's approximately 9. So just to keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. The motion on the floor is to move the item to the next Public Works meeting. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The item's moved. Before we adjourn, Mr. Jones wanted a point of personal privilege, so I will allow that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be very brief. I want to comment and compliment one of our local companies, J&J Asphalt. They were doing a street reclamation project, I guess, and that may not be the right term. Director Tech, correct me if I'm wrong, but a street project, new surface, some curb and gutter repair, et cetera, on the Cleveland Street area from 5th Street to the east. And I saw them this week. They have come back after the project's done and are watering the new node areas that are on some of the corners of the street, new sod that had to put in. So they didn't just blow off their responsibility at the end of the project. They've come back, they're watering, they're doing what they're supposed to do, seeing the project through the way we like and expect our local companies to do. So again, compliments to J&J Asphalt. I know the neighbors in that area were satisfied in notification that they received throughout the project, and they were just very good to work with. So I want to compliment them on being a great local business and doing a good job for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Entertain a motion to adjourn. We're adjourned.